Well, thank you very much. As the last speaker, a lot has been said, so let me try and build on that. But I want to start by thanking the EU and Ursula for inviting us, and it's wonderful to be with my brother, President Hiklema, Prime Minister Sanchez, and of course, Kristalina and Ajay. Always good to be with you. Since taking office as the Director General of the WTO, I've made the case that international trade has a pivotal role to play in achieving our shared climate objectives. We've all heard the bad news, but we've also heard, as Ajay said, the fact that we can still do something about it. The International Energy Agency estimates that meeting the 1.5-degree target is still possible, provided we slash fossil fuel demand by undertaking a massive policy-driven increase in clean energy capacity and energy efficiency with global green investment, especially in developing economies. But the issue is the amount we need to spend. We need to go from 1.8 trillion this year to 4.5 trillion annually by the early 2030s. I want you to keep that figure in mind because this is why carbon pricing is important. And we have to spend this money in a world in which even capital-rich advanced economies are canceling some projects, and including in solar and wind, due to higher borrowing costs. So this is a big concern. So it means that trying to meet the challenge of net zero by 2050 requires every tool in our toolkit. And that is why carbon pricing is crucial. It's a potent policy instrument that directly imposes an economic cost on greenhouse gas emission. Of course, as economists, we love it. Carbon pricing can operate through various mechanisms, from carbon taxes to emissions trading systems, commonly known as cap and trade. But whatever form it takes, putting a price on carbon sends a clear economic signal to emitters, incentivizing reduced energy consumption and greater investment in clean energy technologies. Carbon pricing is powerful because it harnesses market forces to drive change. It penalizes businesses and entrepreneurs who continue to rely on carbon-intensive status quo, and it offers them large economic rewards for innovating, developing, and scaling up low-carbon solutions. In essence, carbon pricing aligns economic self-interest with environmental stewardship. Internalizing the cost of carbon emissions places the burden of responsibility for carbon pollution on the individual actors and industries that contribute the most significantly to the problem. But that said, carbon pricing does have distributional consequences, both within countries and across countries. So addressing these effects, for instance, by redirecting a share of carbon revenues to low-income households and to climate finance for the just transition to low-income countries, is crucial. It's an element of the just transition. Now, I want to touch on one very important problem from the perspective of trade that Ajay touched upon when he spoke. The rationale for carbon pricing has spawned many initiatives. In fact, the World Bank has counted that there are 73 different carbon pricing schemes that are in operation globally. However, they only cover 23% of total emissions, as Kristalina said, and the schemes vary widely in coverage and stringency, with carbon prices ranging from less than $1 per ton of CO2 to more than $130 per ton of CO2. Now, the fragmented landscape of carbon pricing and of climate policies more generally creates a patchwork of regulations, making it challenging for businesses, especially micro, medium, and small enterprises, to navigate. And I've been speaking to many businesses and those in my Business Advisory Council. This is a big problem for them. Beyond these higher costs, compliance costs, fragmentation in carbon pricing has the potential to become a source of trade frictions. And this is where it's of concern to the WTO. As trading partners grapple with different regulatory environments and carbon pricing structures, perceptions that the competitive playing field is unfairly tilted one way or the other could foster trade tensions, potentially escalating into tit-for-tat retaliation. We are witnessing such concerns already at the WTO. And I just want to say thank you to Ursula, because we've invited the EU is coming on the 18th of December to engage with other members of the WTO, to listen to them, explain what problems they have, and also to explain the EU's approach. This is what we need. And we're ready at the WTO to be a forum for dialogue, for bringing people together. That's what we're doing. We don't want the tit-for-tat retaliation. We want to work together. And that's a big point I want to make. At this critical juncture, coordination on carbon pricing is a necessity to manage the trade tensions we're seeing and preempt disputes. We don't want people coming to the WTO dispute settlement system because of issues related to carbon pricing. We want to tackle that ahead. And so we have to be innovative. And we've heard several suggestions. At the WTO, we're working on an approach that takes into account not only the level of development of countries, but also it's dynamic, current, future, and past emissions. Taking those into account, we're also looking to see how can the revenues that might be generated from a unified approach or a coordinated approach be redirected to developing countries, as I said, to help them meet the cost of the transition. Now, that is why our agencies here have gotten together, the IMF, World Bank, OECD, and ourselves, and the UN. We are going to get together, or we have gotten together, to form a task force to try and put together this common approach to carbon pricing. We'll soon hold our first meeting, and we hope we'll come up with something that will help everyone. So let me conclude by saying, look, carbon pricing is an invaluable tool in the battle against climate change. Trade policy is a powerful lever for driving emissions reductions down, and that's why we're working on it. And all I can say is that I'm looking forward to getting all of us together to deliver an answer for the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Director General.